Apologize, and I'll come back as your wife. I read the message 3 times. Not because it confused me, because it stunned me. The nerve it took to send something like that felt unreal. My name is Felix. I'm 31, a foreman at Ironwood Forge, a steel fabrication plant on the edge of Denver. For 8 years I've welded beams, cut steel, shaped structures that hold up bridges and towers. I know how to build things meant to last. I thought I knew how to build a marriage, too. Brooke left 4 months ago. No fight. No warning. Nothing I could point at and say, there, that's where it cracked. She walked in one Tuesday evening, set her purse on the counter, and told me she was leaving. Said her ex, Jordan, some old flame, had reached out, and they'd been talking. Said she needed to see what might have been. I asked if she was serious. She said yes. I asked if I had done something wrong. She said no. I'd been fine. That word haunted me, fine. Like a meal that didn't make her sick but didn't satisfy her either. That night she packed a bag, took her toothbrush, her laptop, a few clothes, and left her wedding ring on the bathroom sink like it was a hotel keycard. I found it the next morning beside my toothbrush, cold, small, meaningless. The first week, I barely ate. I barely slept. I kept replaying conversations, hunting for the moment I missed the fracture. But there was nothing. We'd talked about kids, about buying a bigger place, about growing old together. Turns out she was texting Jordan while we were making those plans. By the second week, something inside me changed. The grief hardened. Maybe into acceptance. Maybe into survival. I stopped checking my phone. Stopped wondering where she was or who she was with. I went back to work, welded beams, ate with the crew, and returned each night to a house that slowly stopped feeling like a crime scene and started feeling like just a place to sleep. Then, 4 months later, that text came. Apologize, and I'll come back as your wife. I stared at it for a long time. Then I set the phone down and finished my coffee. I didn't reply. I met Brooke at a barbecue. My buddy Lucas was throwing a housewarming party, and she came with a friend I didn't know. We talked by the grill for an hour. She laughed at my bad jokes. I liked the way she listened, head slightly tilted, eyes focused. By the end of the night, I had her number. By the end of the month, we were inseparable. We dated 2 years before I proposed. She cried the moment I knelt. We married in a small lodge in the mountains. Her parents came. My mom flew in from Florida. Simple. Honest. I thought it was the start of something solid. For 3 years, I believed it was. I worked overtime to save for a bigger home. She talked about wanting a garden, a nursery someday. I pictured us decades from now, sitting on a porch, watching grandkids run across a yard. I wasn't just building a life with her. I was building a future. She tossed it aside like it was nothing. The worst part wasn't that she left, it was how she left. Calm. Detached. Like she was returning something that never fit properly. No tears. No hesitation. She'd made her decision long before she spoke a word. I was simply the last to know. After she moved out, I started hearing things, little things that added up fast. She'd been talking to Jordan for months. Met him twice when I was working late. Said she was visiting her sister. I believed her because trust blinds you. It makes you miss the shadows right behind you. I didn't confront her. What would it change? She was already living somewhere else, convinced Jordan was her destiny. I wasn't going to chase her. I wasn't going to beg. But that text, one arrogant sentence, told me everything about how she saw me. She thought I was still waiting. Still hoping. Still pathetic enough to apologize for something I didn't do, just to pull her back into my life. She was wrong. The day after I got that text, I deleted her number. Not out of anger, out of clarity. I was done pretending she was someone worth grieving. The weeks after that message felt strange and quiet. I expected anger or bitterness, but instead, I felt relief, like I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for months. I started going out again. Nothing wild, just dinners with friends, drinks after work, the occasional movie. Lucas kept inviting me places, and I started saying yes instead of hiding behind excuses. Life wasn't perfect, but it was moving forward. For the first time in a long time, that felt like enough. That's when Monica slipped back into my life. Monica had been Brooke's best friend since college. They'd once been inseparable, constantly texting, constantly planning. But after Brooke left, it was Monica who reached out to me. She sent a message saying she was sorry, that she didn't agree with what Brooke had done, that if I ever needed to talk, she was there. At first, I ignored it. It felt strange. She was Brooke's friend, not mine. But a few weeks later, I ran into her at a coffee shop near my workplace. We talked for an hour, then two. She asked how I was really doing, and for the first time, I told someone the truth, not the polished version, but the real one. She didn't judge, didn't defend Brooke, didn't try to explain anything away. She just listened. After that, we met more often. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinner. I told myself we were just friends, that nothing was happening. But somewhere along the way, the line blurred. Monica was different from Brooke in every way that mattered. She was clear, honest, steady. When she said something, she meant it. No guessing. No hidden motives. She laughed easily, spoke her mind, and didn't play games. And she was beautiful. I'd always known it, but I had never let myself see it. Not when I was married. Not when she was Brooke's friend. But now, sitting across from her in a downtown restaurant, I noticed everything I had ignored before. One night, she came over to watch a movie. We sat on the couch, closer than ever. Halfway through, she asked if this was okay. I said yes. She kissed me. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I was betraying anyone. Brooke had chosen her path. She left. She didn't get to dictate what I did after. Monica started staying over. Not every night, but often. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy. It just felt right. It was real. And deep down, I knew Brooke would eventually show up. She wasn't the type to let anything end quietly. She'd want to see what she'd walked away from. She'd want to check if it was still waiting for her. A part of me almost welcomed the moment. She came on a Saturday. I was in the bedroom when I heard a car pull into the driveway. I glanced at the security monitor on my nightstand, the system I installed after she left, mostly because the house felt too silent and I wanted to know who approached it. The screen showed a silver sedan I recognized instantly. Brooke's car. She stepped out slowly, smoothing her hair, adjusting her jacket. She looked prepared, like she'd rehearsed the whole drive over. I stayed on the bed. Monica was in the bathroom brushing her teeth, unaware of who had just arrived. "Someone's here," I said. Monica leaned out. "Who?" "Brooke." She didn't react the way I expected. No panic. No rush to hide. She just raised an eyebrow. You want me to stay in here? I thought for a moment. Then I shook my head. No. Answer the door. She held my gaze for a long second, then smiled. Not cruel, just knowing. Okay. She walked out wearing nothing but my old college hoodie, the gray one with the frayed cuffs. It hung to her mid-thigh, her legs bare, her hair messed from sleep. She looked exactly like what she was, a woman who'd spent the night. I stayed in the bedroom and opened the hallway camera on my phone. Brooke knocked twice, confident, firm, like the house still belonged to her. Monica opened the door. The silence that followed felt long and heavy. Brooke's face shifted through 5 reactions in seconds: confusion, recognition, shock, disbelief, and then something colder. Monica. Her voice cracked. Hey, Brooke. Monica's tone was calm, almost casual. What are you, why are you? Brooke couldn't finish. Her eyes dropped to the hoodie, to Monica's bare legs, to the meaning that needed no explanation. Felix is inside, Monica said. You want me to get him? Brooke's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked past Monica into the house, like she hoped to find something, anything, that might undo what she was seeing. But there was nothing to see. Just the hallway, just the life I'd rebuilt without her. Brooke started, then stopped. Her hands were trembling. You should probably go, Monica said. Not harsh, not cruel, just steady, like she was turning away a door-to-door salesman. Brooke's face twisted. You're supposed to be my friend. Monica tilted her head. I was. But you left. And you didn't just leave Felix, you left everyone who cared about you. I reached out. You ignored me. You were too busy playing house with Jordan to answer a single text. That's not, it is, Monica said. You made your choice. So did I. I watched Brooke's shoulders sink, watched the confidence drain from her like water slipping out of a cracked glass. She looked small standing on that porch, smaller than I had ever seen her. She turned and walked to her car without a word. No dramatic exit. No last glance. She simply got in, shut the door quietly, and drove away. Monica closed the front door and came back to the bedroom. She climbed onto the bed and curled beside me. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. I am. And I meant it. Over the next few days, I waited for the backlash, texts, calls, some dramatic scene at work. But nothing came. Brooke went completely silent. Later, through a mutual friend, I found out she had returned to Jordan's apartment that same night, and they'd had a massive fight. She had apparently told him she could come back to me anytime she wanted, that I was her safety net, that I would always take her back. Seeing Monica in my doorway shattered that fantasy. Jordan didn't like being anyone's second choice either. He kicked her out 3 days later. I won't pretend I didn't feel a dark, private satisfaction when I heard it. I'm not proud of the feeling, but I'm not going to lie about it. She had spent 4 months convinced I was frozen in place, waiting for her to wander back when the excitement ran dry. Her whole escape plan depended on the idea that I would still be there. She was wrong. Monica and I didn't rush anything. We didn't force labels or make dramatic promises. We simply kept spending time together, kept talking, kept being honest with each other in ways I had never managed with Brooke. Then one night, about a week after Brooke showed up, Monica asked me something I didn't expect. Do you feel guilty? I thought about it. I really thought about it. No, I said. should I? She shrugged. Some people would call me a terrible person for sleeping with my best friend's husband. Ex-husband, I corrected. And she left me. She made that choice. I know, she said softly. But still. I turned to her. Do you feel guilty? She met my eyes. No. I spent years watching her take you for granted, watching her flirt with other guys at parties while you stood there pretending not to notice. I kept quiet because she was my friend. But I always thought you deserved better. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because it wasn't my place. You were married. I wasn't going to be that person. She paused. But you're not married anymore. And she's not my friend anymore. So, here we are. Here we are. I reached for her hand. It felt natural, easy, like something that had been waiting to happen for a long time. I don't regret this, I said. Good, she replied. Neither do I. We sat together in silence after that. Not awkward, comfortable. The kind that didn't need words. I thought about Brooke, about the life we planned, about the future I once imagined and the one I was living now. They didn't look anything alike. But that wasn't a bad thing. Sometimes the life you end up with is better than the one you designed. I didn't know if Monica and I would last forever. I didn't know if marriage or kids or growing old together were in the cards. But I knew I was happier now than I had been in years. And I knew Brooke's opinion didn't matter anymore. She made her choice. I made mine. And mine was better. A month passed, then two. Brooke reached out once, an email full of apologies, explanations, and thinly veiled accusations. She said I'd humiliated her. Said Monica had betrayed her. Said we'd ruined something precious. I read it once and deleted it. No reply. She wanted me to apologize, to beg, to prove I still valued her above everything else. Instead, she learned I'd moved on, that her best friend had taken her place, that the man she'd thrown aside wasn't broken or waiting. He was thriving. That stung her more than anything else could have. Over the next few weeks, I heard updates through the grapevine. She'd moved back in with her parents. Jordan had blocked her number. She spent weeks spinning her story for anyone who'd listen, claiming I'd cheated on her, that Monica had betrayed her, that she was the innocent one in all of it. But no one bought it. The people who knew us had seen everything unfold. They watched her walk away. They watched me pick myself up. And they watched her come crawling back only to find the door already closed. Her reputation took the hit she never thought she'd face. Friends stopped answering her calls. Her sister told her it was time she owned her mistakes. Even her mother, who had defended her through every bad decision, finally started asking questions she didn't want to answer. Brooke had lived her whole life believing she could move through people like seasons. She treated relationships like options she could revisit when she felt bored or lonely. She assumed loyalty was one-sided, that no matter how she acted, everyone would still be waiting for her. She was learning otherwise. Monica and I barely talked about her anymore. There was no need. She belonged to a past that no longer had any control over the present. And the present was good. We took a weekend trip to the mountains, not far from where Brooke and I had once gotten married. I thought it might feel strange, standing so close to the ghost of an old life, but it didn't. The place was just a place, quiet, beautiful, and finally mine again. Monica and I cooked dinner in the cabin, shared a bottle of wine on the porch, and watched the sun disappear behind the peaks. At one point she looked at me and said, "You seem different." Different how? I asked. Lighter, she said. Like you're not carrying something anymore. And she was right. For years I'd carried the weight of a marriage that had turned into a slow suffocation, a wife who never saw me, a future that was never going to happen. Brooke leaving hurt, but it also set me free. I think I finally stopped waiting, I said. For what? For her to see me. I shook my head. She never did. But you do. Monica smiled softly and rested her head on my shoulder. We sat like that until the stars scattered across the sky. I didn't know where life was headed, but for the first time in a long time, I actually wanted to find out. 6 months after the day Brooke tried to come back into my life, I proposed to Monica. It happened without planning, without rings, without speeches. We were sitting on the couch on a quiet Sunday morning, mugs of coffee warming our hands, scrolling through the news on our phones. Monica laughed at something she'd seen, a soft, genuine laugh that filled the whole room. It hit me in a way I couldn't explain. It felt like home. I set my coffee down. Marry me. She froze. What? Marry me. She held my gaze for a long moment. Then came that same knowing smile, the one she gave me the day Brooke tried to crash back into my life. Okay. No dramatic pauses. No tears. Just two people who knew exactly what they wanted. 3 months later, we stood in a small garden outside the city and said our vows. Only family and close friends. Lucas stood beside me as my best man. Monica's sister stood beside her. And when she said, "I do," I knew I'd finally found something real, something that had been missing for years. Brooke found out through social media. She didn't call. Didn't send a message. Didn't try to ruin anything. But a mutual friend told me she'd seen the wedding photos and spent the night crying. I didn't feel guilty. She'd been given a chance. She'd walked away from it. Some people grow. Some people don't. Brooke was the second kind. A year after the wedding, Monica and I bought a house, not the one Brooke and I had shared. New place. Ours. It had a garden Monica loved, a spare room we quietly referred to as the future nursery, and a porch where we sat every evening watching the sky fade into gold. Sometimes Brooke crossed my mind, not with anger, not with longing, but with a distant curiosity. I wondered if she ever understood what she'd lost. If she ever stopped telling the world she was the victim long enough to look in the mirror. I doubted it. Last I heard, she was still living with her parents, still single, still repeating the same old story. But fewer people were listening now. That's how it works, eventually, audiences move on. And Jordan? He'd moved to another state. Wanted nothing to do with her. The love story she'd thrown her marriage away for barely lasted 6 months. On our first anniversary, Monica and I stayed home. She made steak, I made a salad, and we opened a bottle of wine. We talked about the year behind us, and the years ahead. Any regrets? She asked. I shook my head. Not a single one. She smiled. Good. Me neither. I looked around at the life we'd built, the peace, the laughter, the future taking shape, and I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The home. The partnership. The future unfolding before us. Brooke had always thought she had choices. She believed she could walk away and return whenever it suited her, that I'd always be waiting, her safety net. But the net was gone. Permanently. And I had never been happier. Some doors, once closed, stay closed forever. And that was exactly how it should be.